All right. We in here. For those of you jumping in early, I appreciate you. We're live. I just got done watching Drew Titan and a few others. I stopped by to Trill Boxing for a moment and I figured, I got a few things on my mind, so why not jump up on here and go live? Um, so I guess the dust is starting to settle a little bit after last night. And of course, another major shout out to Yordenis Ugas. Shout out to Cuba. Shout out for really shocking the world, to be honest with you. A lot of people, most people that I talked to at least, thought Manny Pacquiao would win that fight, including myself. So I spent the whole day last night and yesterday eating crow. So I've done my just due. All those people who chose Pacquiao, I hope you have done the same. But nonetheless, man, I'm happy for Ugas. I'm happy for Cuba, and I'm glad to see the welterweight division now start to get very interesting and start to open up. Now, as I mentioned before, um, the main thing that I would want to see from the welterweight division is for it to open up. And Manny Pacquiao was there, kind of being a sore or thorn in the welterweight side, because the young lions really couldn't fight each other. I'm not blaming Pacquiao entirely. I'm just saying that he's always there. He's always in the top 5 of the rankings, and he never retired, and he's trying to make himself relevant and trying to reclaim glory. And so now, essentially, with him out of the way, we could potentially get the fights that we want to see. Shout out to SM for the first one being in the chat. I appreciate you as always. Just K just jumped in. Salute, Mr. Sense. Good to see you back. I'm late to the party. Nah, man, I just started. So no worries. Waiting for people to trickle in here over the next few moments. It takes some time for people to get notified sometimes. And I'm still battling with YouTube as far as my subscribers being notified anytime I go live, but it happens. Yave, what's good, man? Official member of the channel. I want to give you a special shout out as always. My man Yave, man, I see him everywhere. I see him everywhere. He's putting in that work, showing love to a lot of channels out here, man. And big shout out to Yave, man. He really loves boxing, and I love to see it. So basically, you guys see the title of the live stream, and that's what I wanted to talk about today and get your guys' thoughts on who you think will, claim the welterweight division. As I said, we have Manny Pacquiao essentially out of the way. I would imagine he will retire, and if he doesn't retire, I just see it very difficult for them to make a fight with anybody in the top tier. I don't see them making the Spence fight anymore. I don't see them making a Crawford fight. I don't see them rematching Ugas. And I just don't know who he could fight. Maybe he can fight a previous welterweight champion, maybe some young lion down there, but I don't even want to put him up against someone like Virgil Ortiz or Ennis or any of those guys, to be honest with you, based off of what I saw last night. I think it's time to sail off into the sunset for Pacquiao. He has nothing else more to prove, and there's no need to hang on to something that doesn't need to be hung on to. You know what I mean? The last thing that we want to see is Pacquiao go in there against a young lion and get damaged. Think about your family. Think about the legacy that you have created for yourself. And like I said, man, sail off into the sunset. That's my recommendation. That's my opinion. I see that there are still a lot of people who thinks that Pacquiao can still make a comeback. Each to their own, man. Everyone has their own opinion, but like I said, my opinion is go ahead and hang them up, man. And there's no disgrace in that at all. You know what I mean? Shout out to GK Black, was good. Eric R, good to see you, man. Thanks for dropping in tonight. So I got a poll going, real simple poll. Who do you think will be at the top of the division? I put Spence and Ugas there. Other could be Keith Thurman, could be Danny Garcia, could be Virgil Ortiz, could be Ennis, could be any of those guys currently in the welterweight division. You can select other if you don't think it's going to be Spence or Crawford or Ugas. Uh, you know, go ahead and leave a vote there in the chat. So Eric says, I'd like to say Spence, but that latest injury is a factor going against Bud. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a dark cloud hovering over Spence right now. We don't really know if it'll be a factor, if he'll fully recover, or maybe psychologically affect him. We don't know, and sometimes when you get an eye injury, you don't always know. You know what I mean? If it's in the beginning stages, if you're sparring a lot and you get punched in the eye, your eye's sore because I got punched in the eye. You don't really think about your retina being torn or detached or whatever the case may be. So, we just don't know. And I agree with Eric. Either it's going to be a factor or it might not be a factor, but it is a cloud that Spence will have to step out from underneath. You know what I mean? Eric says Manny needs to face Mikey Garcia and ride off into the sunset. Um, yeah, because Mikey's that's an interesting point because one thing that I do think that bothered Pacquiao was Ugas. He's a solid bona fide welterweight, man. I mean, he's 147. I don't know what he came in on fight night. He was probably 151, 152. So he's a solid bona fide welterweight. Pacquiao's a small man. Yeah, he's been at 147 for a while, but I mean, the dude came up from from 122 or some shit in the beginning of his career. And he's never really harnessed the same type of power or pop that he had in the lower weight classes. We really haven't seen him destroy fighters since he's like at 140, like when he fought Cotto, Hatton. But he did even more damage at lightweight. So he's a smaller guy, and we've seen over the past 4 or 5 years or so where Pacquiao he can make a fight interesting and he can possibly win, but he doesn't have that power anymore. And I think that's one thing that affected him against the Ugas fight. Ugas was defending well. Pacquiao tried to get off combinations, and Pacquiao was like, man, I can't hurt this guy. You know what I mean? And he's just big. So with Mikey's a smaller guy too, so maybe that's a matchup that might work. They're more of a similar size, but Mikey ain't no joke, man. Mikey is no joke. So I don't know, man. I just kind of lean towards Pac just packing it up. To be honest with you, that's just my opinion. But I can see where you're coming from with that, Eric. Just K says Pac should definitely not be in the game anymore. He'll get hurt. If Spence comes back, it's going to be interesting. I would like to see Ugas versus Crawford, Thurman, Ortiz, even a Porter rematch. Yeah, that's another thing. I mentioned yesterday in my live that I wouldn't mind seeing the Ugas Porter rematch to get that out of the way because on my scorecards, I scored a draw and I could have easily scored it for Ugas, So I think that score needs to be settled. And I don't think that Porter really feels that he won it convincingly. He knows it was a close fight. And so I think that fight needs to happen. Let Porter let Spence and Crawford handle their business. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. Now, from what I know, Crawford and Porter are supposed to fight. Spence is coming back from injury. Pacquiao's out of the way. So then who does Spence fight? Does Spence take on a young lion? Do they give Virgil an early piece of the pie? I personally think Ortiz needs one, maybe two more fights. I think he needs to go up in there against like a Danny Garcia, beat a Danny Garcia first before he goes in there against Spence. So I don't know. You guys let me know how you guys should see. I mean, so basically the question is, what's the next fight? What is the next big fight in the welterweight division? Is it Crawford Porter, or is it Spence Crawford? Do you throw Ortiz in there? Do you throw Ennis in there? So let me know in the comment section, what is the next big fight? What is the next big fight? Let me know. In the meantime, let's go ahead and take a look at the welterweight division as it stands right now. I'm not 100% sure if Ring has updated their rankings since Pacquiao lost and Ugas won. So let's see where it's at. Regardless, it'll give us an idea and reminder. All right, so it doesn't look like they updated it. Oh, they did a little bit, actually. They did a little bit. So this is what we're looking at here with the welterweight division. All right. I think they probably updated it like maybe last week, because I see Virgil Ortiz is at number 6 now. Last week he was like number 9. So he's moved up. I would imagine Pacquiao's going to drop down. I mean, he has to drop down to maybe like 8 or 9. These all need to be shuffled around. Ugas, in my opinion, because he beat Pacquiao, I don't know, man. I would put him at 3. You can keep Porter at 4. Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's with Pacquiao losing, I think he has to drop out. I think Pacquiao needs to drop down. Ugas goes to 3. Porter can stay at 4. Maybe Ortiz moves to 5. And then it's a decision of, do you keep Manny Pacquiao in there in the top 10? Is he still above Danny? Probably, until Manny officially retires. So who do you guys got next in the next big fight? Eric says Crawford and Thurman would be nice. Pac still got to make that Ryan Garcia exhibition after how he looked last night. Yeah, I hear you. I see Spence coming back for his Ugas without a soft touch, much like he did with Danny Garcia. If his eyes feel good, he's going after Crawford. That's a fair point. So it's a tough call, man. This is why I'm not a promoter, because as we're looking at right now, Spence has got the IBF WBC, Terrence has the WBO, and Ugas has the WBA. So a lot of belts on the table, but a lot of potential to obviously have an undisputed. My personal opinion is, I think Virgil and Danny needs to fight. I need to get that out of the way. If Virgil beats Danny, Danny needs to drop, because unfortunately for Danny, as much as I like Danny, anytime he's stepped up in the 147-pound division, he's lost, unfortunately. So Virgil proves himself against Danny. He's in the mix, right? I wouldn't throw. I wouldn't. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. That's what I'm liking. I'm liking that. Virgil and Danny, get that out of the way. I think Ortiz will take it. I think he'll take it, man. That kind of pushes Danny down. Pacquiao's out of the way. Then Spence comes back, fights Ugas, takes care of Ugas. Porter and Crawford fight. Crawford takes care of Porter. And then you got Spence Crawford. You got Spence Crawford. And then let's say for argument's sake, Spence wins. Right? He's got 3 belts. Well, he'll have 4 because he'll beat Ugas as well. So Spence will be the undisputed. That's how Spence becomes undisputed right there. That's how Spence becomes undisputed. He comes back. First fight in, he fights Ugas. Takes the WBA. Crawford fights Porter. And then you make Spence Crawford. Crawford will have the WBO. Then you have the undisputed. Whoever wins that becomes the undisputed champion. In the meantime, Virgil fights Danny. Virgil beats Danny. And then Virgil gets a title shot against whoever's the undisputed champion, Spence or Crawford. So there you have it. There's my quick little breakdown on how I think that welterweight division will break down, or at least how I think it should be. But there's a lot of different scenarios that may play out. Just K says, I'm sticking with Ugas, Porter rematch, or Thurman because he's flapping his gums right now about now till the next fight when the next Yeah, I mean, that's very possible, and I wouldn't mind watching it. Like I said earlier, man, Ugas and Porter, they need to go ahead and settle that. It's too close of a fight. And Porter knows it was close, man. And he can talk all the shit he wants about he beat Ugas, but you got by, man. You got by the skin of your teeth. All right, Eric, bro. Thanks for dropping by, man. I appreciate it, bro. Get that movie and get that family time in, man. Family's important, bro. Make it happen. GK says the Crawford Porter purse bid is September 2nd. All right, so that's not too far away. Damn. Really? That's like a week and a half away. Is that fight signed? Is that fight signed and delivered? I knew it was close. Knew it was close to being made. Let me just check here real quick. Shit, because that's like a week and a half away. Yeah, I don't see any official update. But it's crazy that Crawford hasn't fought in almost a year already, man. That's crazy. Last time he fought was Kell Brook in November of 2020, almost a year. All right, so it says here, I got it pulled up. On July 31st, 2021, the WBO ordered that Crawford defend his welterweight title against number 2 ranked WBO welterweight contender Sean Porter. The 2-time welterweight title holder was seen as the biggest challenge in Crawford's career up to that point, with ESPN describing Porter as a quantum leap in competition. The two sides were given a 30-day period to negotiate the fight before it would go to a purse bid. Should the fight go to a purse bid, Crawford and Porter would adhere to a 60-40 purse split rather than the usual 80-20 split for mandated matches, taking into account the earnings from their 3 previous fights. All right, cool. So that makes sense. So basically, it looks like, because nothing has been negotiated, so it'll probably go to a purse bid, which to GK Black's point will be September 2nd. That's about right. That's 30 days. And then and then it'll be a 60, whatever it said, a 60-40 per split. So yeah, it looks like that's going to happen because that's what the WBO is ordering, and I don't see Crawford vacating the title. He's pretty much forced to fight Porter. So goes the purse bid on September 2nd. They'll probably sign a fight for what? Maybe December? Mid to late December before Christmas. We could probably see a Crawford versus Porter fight. Big Dog Willie, man, what's good? Thanks for dropping by. So, okay, that's what we got. And that's fine. Unfortunate for Ugas, but it is what it is. But I think Crawford beats Porter. I think it'll be a good fight. Porter always brings it. You know what I'm saying? He always brings it. But Crawford should win that fight. He should win it by at least 2, 3, maybe 4 rounds with just pure boxing skill. But I mean, the fact that he hasn't been in the ring for a year, I mean, that might be a factor. That might be a factor. So looks like we'll probably get that December, I would imagine. And then yeah, Spence will probably be ready to come back in December as well. I think he'll be healed up by then. He may be healed up by September. You know, from what I heard, the recovery he's doing very well on the road to recovery. So he might be ready in September to make a fight in December as well, or Jan 2022. And I don't know, man. I have a feeling it might be. I don't know if Ugas will be willing to fight that quickly after the Pacquiao fight, but I don't know, man. We have to sit back and watch. This is why we come on here and we discuss it. Make sure as you guys come in, man, you hit that like button. Make sure that you vote in the poll. Let me see where the poll's standing at right now. Who's the next king? So far, we got Spence at 55%, Crawford at 36%, and we have 9% for other. So I'm guessing if you're selecting other, then you're picking Thurman, you're picking Ortiz, or whoever else is chilling up there or Porter. So I'm guessing if you choose other, then you're choosing Porter, Ortiz, Thurman, or Garcia, or Jaron Ennis. Like, let me know in the comments if you voted other. Who do you got? Who do you got? If you chose other in the poll, who do you got to be the next king of the welterweight division? Dave Martinez says, I remember the 80s, man. Hearns, Hagler, Duran, Leonard all fought each other. The boxing gods ought to be ashamed of themselves. Either that or nobody wants greatness. Too much, or too many, I should say, too many damn politics in boxing nowadays, man. And it's who's going to get the money, who's going to get the biggest purse, you know, what's in it for me, what's the risk factor. It's crazy that sometimes we only see big fights from a particular fighter maximum 2 times a year. Imagine that shit. 2 times a year. When back in the day, even in the 80s, we would see at least 4 or 5 times, not 6 times a year, rotating of Hearns, Hagler, Duran, Leonard, you know, always rotating throughout the year. And nowadays it just seems like all we're doing is just sitting and waiting and sitting and waiting. Christian says, Boots or Ennis. Okay. So, Christian, my question for you would be, do you think they should match up Ortiz and Ennis? The 2 young lions? Or do you want to see Ortiz and Danny Garcia, or Ennis and Danny Garcia? The reason why I use Danny Garcia, because I think he's a valuable opponent right in the middle of the mix. He has been in there with some of the best fighters in the welterweight division. And doesn't matter who he's going to fight, Danny will always be a challenge. So if you're a young lion trying to make a name for yourself, Danny's a good name to pick. It's almost like you have a chance to beat Danny, but you also have a chance to lose to Danny. You know what I'm saying? If you throw Ennis and Ortiz in there against Ugas or Spence or Crawford, it's too much of a risk, in my opinion, when they're still early in their careers. Ortiz being 18-0 and Ennis being 27-0. So Danny Garcia is that guy that I feel like he's the guy you got to get past before you go to the next level. And for Danny, it's a win-win for him too because, well, it's a win-lose actually. Because if you're Danny and you beat Ortiz or you beat Ennis, you kind of propel yourself back into the this because you're like, oh, this dude just beat this young lion who everybody's talking about could potentially be the next champion. So for Danny, he'll be motivated to fight a young lion to get his name back in the mix. So that's how I see it when I'm looking at the welterweight division. And Crawford and Porter need to handle their business. And if Crawford and Porter don't handle their business, I think Ugas and Porter need to handle their business because that fight was too damn close to just forget about it. You know, as they say in New York, forget about it. You can't. So that's how I see it. Let me know what you guys think about that. Big Stormy B-Man is in the building. Shout out to Stormy, man. I caught a little bit of the show that you did with Drew Titan. I saw you guys had Corey Spinks in there. That's what's up. Maybe one of these days I can get some esteemed gentlemen guests in my shows as well. Tom was good. GK says Pat can do exhibitions till he's in his 50s. A rematch with De La Hoya could be big. Yeah, why not? If De La Hoya gets past his next fight he got coming up, he's got a fight coming up, right? Oscar. So this is what we're looking at. Let me know, guys, in the chat, who is the next in line. I will say this, though. Ugas is a threat to anybody. Don't get it twisted. Ugas is a threat to anybody. You know, so keep that in mind when you're sitting down thinking about the welterweight division and how it unfolds. Ugas is a threat to anybody. The ring still has Pacquiao right there at 3, but he's going to drop. So you have to shuffle all that shit around. In my opinion, Ugas jumps to 3. 1, 2, 3. Spence, Crawford, Ugas. Then you got Porter, and then you can decide who goes in there after that. That's my opinion. Pacquiao drops. He's out. And he's significant. He drops out of the top 10 completely, obviously, if he retires. What's up, Michael? Michael says Spence if he's fully recovered. So I understand and I get that sentiment. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that Spence recovers successfully and he's not psychologically affected by the surgery and he is healthy. That's the type of conversation we need to have. That's the type of positivity that I speak into existence. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I operate. A lot of people were coming on here fight night, last night, before the fight, saying, oh, I want to pick Ugas, but I think he tore his bicep. And people coming to me, Divine, did you hear about the bicep injury? Did you hear about the bicep injury? I said, I don't have no time to speak that negativity in the realm of the universe. Okay. Because I believe in jinx and shit. So I said, no, he's fine. He's fine. And he was fine. He didn't look hurt to me. And if he was hurt, he did a damn good job hiding it. GK says, I don't think Pac should drop below Porter. I feel like you're entitled to that opinion, definitely. The problem, GK, though, is like who is he gonna fight? Like, you're gonna keep him up there in the top 6, top 5, but who's he gonna fight? He can't fight anybody in the top 5 anymore. There's no way you can sell that fight. I mean, it's not like he dropped Ugas a couple times, but he still got the decision, or Ugas still got the decision, but he dropped Ugas, so he showed us that, oh, he still got power. I mean, the dude got pretty much shut out, in my opinion. I mean, I scored it 9-3. Those 3 rounds, well, at least 2 of those rounds out of the 3, I was very generous to Pacquiao, but the dude got borderline shut out, so if you keep him up there in the top 5, who do you match him up against? That's the problem. You do it out of respect for a legend. I get that. But I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know. Do you guys agree with GK? Does Pacquiao go above, below, out of the top 10 after this fight with Ugas? Let me know in the chat. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the schedule, see what we got coming up next. I always like to refresh, man, because my memory nowadays is not so good, man. I got too much shit in my head. What did you guys think, real quickly, about the Guerrero-Ortiz fight? That was tough to watch, man. That was tough to watch. It started off good. Man. I was like, okay. They're trying to prove a point. And it was like, what, round 4? When they were already burned out, man. They were like, man, we got to be careful here. We got to burn ourselves out, and a lot of wrestling. And it reminded me of my uncle fighting the neighbor down the street because he didn't return his car jack or some shit like that. Little backyard brawl. That's what that reminded me of. I don't know if you guys saw it. Ortiz and Guerrero. That was entertaining. Yeah, I mean, it literally reminded me of, like I said, my uncle fighting the neighbor because the neighbor didn't return the car jack or didn't return his wrenches. Deshaun, what's up, man? I'm waiting for you to come in here and build up your boy Spence. Spence will dog walk Bud. I would know. I'm a Cowboys fan. Hashtag everything bigger in Texas. Deshaun coming in here, man, with no filter. Well, everybody who I've noticed so far is saying that they would love to pick Spence, but they're not confident after the eye surgery. So, Deshaun, what do you think about that? Do you think that he's going to recover fully from the eye surgery, and not only physically, but will he be psychologically ready to go? What do you think about that, Deshaun? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's look at the schedule. What we got coming up? Big fights coming up. Man, Ring puts like a full schedule. Well, we know we got next weekend, man. We got Amanda Serrano. That must be a female fight with featherweights. And then, of course, we got Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. Let me know what you guys think about that fight. Who do you think wins that fight? Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley, man. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it. I get it. I get a lot of people DMing me saying, oh, Devon, what do you think about the Woodley Jake Paul fight? You should make a video about it. And I said, man, the problem is, man, is that diehard boxing fans, they're not interested in hearing about that shit. For the most part, myself included. Now, will I watch it? I don't know. I don't know what I got going on next weekend. Typically speaking, I'm busy on Saturdays, man. But they're fighting on Sunday. So there's a possibility I can watch it. Let me know what you guys think, man. If you guys have an opinion of the Jake Paul Woodley little scrap, who do you think takes that? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, Dave says Pac definitely drops below Porter, like you said. His last fight was not close. Yeah, I agree with Dave, man. I agree with Dave. We're looking. That's what I was trying to find. September 11th on Triller, we got Oscar De La Hoya versus Victor Belfort. So, yeah, if Oscar gets past Belfort, man, maybe they'll do a rematch with Manny. But the thing is, Oscar's too big now, man. Oscar, they're doing a light heavyweight fight. That's a light heavyweight. Oscar's a light heavyweight now, man. Pacquiao barely making 147 at 42 years old. So it would have to be an exhibition. But Oscar is going to be a lot bigger. Michael says Woodley ain't taking Jake Paul serious. He better watch out. Okay. Michael put it out there. Michael has put it out there. I think it's. I think you're right. I think he's a little bit overconfident. But can you blame him though? Can you blame him? I mean, you come from Woodley's background, being a multiple UFC champion. You're known for being a striker. You're known for knocking people out. Yeah, you're not a boxer, but you have a resume. You're a world. At one point in time, you were a world-class athlete. So, do you blame him for having that type of confidence? For me, like, I get it, but I also get your point. Like, Jake Paul he's coming, man. He's coming to knock Woodley out. There ain't no doubt about that. He's not coming in there to put on a show. He's going to put on a show by knocking Woodley out. Like, he's trying to prove a point. So in that respect, I get that. I do get that. But Woodley at the end of the day, man, he ain't gonna be a pushover like Askren and Nate Robinson. I guarantee you that. He is not gonna be a pushover. I promise you that. So we'll have to see how it plays out. I might watch it. We'll see. Deshaun says the $1 million question ain't it. I solely believe he would walk down Bud if he's 100%, but right now he don't know what to believe. Some saying it's a small tear, other like it's a full detachment. Yeah, I've heard different things too, man. It's a little bit frustrating. I was watching Drew Titan earlier today, and they were saying they had Corey Spinks on there, and they were saying that it was a tear. I think they were saying that it's a tear, but I've heard detachment as well. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I just hope he recovers quickly. And the thing is, I keep hearing that, he's going to make a full recovery. They're looking like he might be able to fight in December. So these type of things, man, especially a sensitive injury like an eye, like that's what I'm saying. Like, even if he makes a full recovery, there is a psychological part of it that Spence will have to overcome. Will he be timid to take a big shot in that eye again, or does he just, not let it affect him and move forward like nothing ever happened? Because that's literally what you have to do, and it's hard to do. I've been an athlete all my life. I've had injuries here and there. Worst one being probably a broken foot. I stepped into a fucking pothole playing soccer and broke a bone in my foot. And it took me a while, man. It took me probably at least a year to get my confidence back to run at full speed again and move laterally and, really like get it out of your head because it sticks with you even after you get out of the cast and you start walking around a little bit, you start running and jogging for that first time, man, it sticks with you because, when you go through an injury like that, you got to go through a lot of bullshit, you know what I mean? And you don't want to repeat that. So it took me about a year to fully recover. Um, but I've had broken fingers several times playing basketball, and I was a goalie. That's the position I played when I played professional soccer. So I've had my fingers broken many times. You just kind of you tape it up and keep moving, or if it's dislocated or whatever. But the thing is an eye injury, man, is super sensitive, bro. Super, super sensitive. Jake can actually go pro if he stopped the buffoonery, maybe. I think that's the biggest complaint by most boxers is that, they don't necessarily have a problem with Jake. I mean, for me, he's annoying, man. He's annoying as hell. I can't stand him when he talks. He just reminds me of that big bully in high school that just walks around campus just bullying people. He's a bully. Like, don't get it twisted. Jake Paul's a bully. And I saw in All Access, he was like, "Oh, I used to be a bully, but I'm not a bully anymore." Nah, you a bully, man. The way you talk, the way you walk, the way you act. Jake Paul is a bully, and he bullies people. That's his demeanor. Very different from Logan Paul. Logan Paul is much more humble, but Jake is a bully, man. He's a spoiled brat, like straight up. So he reminds me of that big white kid walking around who's bigger than everyone, just trying to bully people. And so in that regard, I just generally don't like bullies because, I was small growing up as a kid and I had to deal with bullies growing up, man. And that's why I got into boxing and got into sports, because I was a small kid growing up. And so I have that shit in my head, man. And when I see people like Jake Paul, uh, I, I, I just can't be friends with people like that. But with that being said, I just think that most boxers are like, he's annoying, but he does have skill. They would just want to see him do it the right way, Start in the professional ranks and fight boxers. Earn your way. You already have a name, so you can fight 10 to 12 times and be a prospect / contender just because you already have the name and promoters can market you or you can market yourself. But all this fight MMA fighters and all this different stuff, it's publicity stunts, man, and that's why people don't like him. Uh, Same thing, you, me, and knee surgery. Trust me, there's a certain fear there. Absolutely. I have a cartilage damage in my right knee, and it still sticks with me, and I'm conscious of of how I step. So I understand what you mean. Yeah, it sticks with you, 100%. It sticks with you. LT boxing y this madre. You streaming from your bathroom? Nah, man. It's just a room, man. It's just a room. Um, it's just a vacant room in my house, man. I've actually got that. A few people have said that to me. It looks like a bathroom, maybe with the mirrors and shit. I don't know, but nah, it's just a vacant room, small vacant room. It's actually, it was my trophy room. It's where I keep all my trophies. You can see a couple back here. I got like medals back here. Got some trophies lined up. So actually, it was my trophy room, and I just kind of converted it because it's quiet. You know, I got my daughter running around being loud all the time. So yeah. But yeah, that would be kind of weird though, right? Like having pictures up on the bathroom wall. But nah, man, this is just a vacant room, bro. So yeah, man, going back to the topic of the injuries, there's a psychological factor to it, in my opinion. And, we're just going to have to see how Errol comes back from it. Everybody's a little bit different. I've seen people come back from Achilles tears and ruptures, and other serious injuries, ACL, MCL injuries, and they bounce back quick, man. As soon as they can walk, they're trying to run. So it's different. Everybody's a little bit different. But again, like, we're talking about um, an eye injury, man. That's in boxing. You can hurt your knee, your elbow, your foot, your ankle. And that doesn't affect you as much as having your eye injured. Because you get punched in the face in boxing, and all it does is take one punch to land in a certain way, and your eye gets jacked up, and automatically it can affect you. So LT says Virgil Ortiz will be the new king. Yeah, man, he's got potential. He's got potential. I was telling people in the chat earlier, if you just joined LT, that I think that Virgil should fight Danny Garcia next. I think that's a good matchup for him to propel him up into the top 5 in the conversation of a title shot. I think Danny's a nice step up. Deshaun says, I would like to congratulate your Cardinals on beating my Cowboys last week in preseason. Well, thank you for the congratulations, man. But I don't take preseason seriously, man. I kind of loosely watch it. Like, I play it on the TV as I'm working and doing other stuff. Like, I don't take it that serious. Starters hardly play. Like, Hopkins hasn't played at all. AJ Green has played very little. Kyler Murray played a little bit last week against the Chiefs. He took like maybe 10 snaps. So, man, preseason's all about just trying to fill out your roster. I don't take it serious. But I'm looking forward to the season, man, definitely. Razor531 says, I really hope Spence comes back 100% and that it doesn't open up the tear or messes the other eye. I agree, man. I agree. And, don't get it twisted, man. I'm a big Errol Spence fan, man. I've watched Spence for quite a while now. I've been talking about him for years. And I've always said that he, in my opinion, is the lead candidate to be the top of the division. Crawford, in my opinion, is a close second. And I think that that's the fight that boxing fans deserve, is a Spence Crawford fight. At the end of the day, that's the fight that should be made. And hopefully we get that. Hopefully Crawford gets past Porter and we can get Crawford and Spence and have an undisputed champion. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is having an undisputed champion, regardless of whoever it is. That's what boxing fans deserve, is one guy with all the belts, undisputed. That's what I hope to get. Dr. Hook says he agrees with LT. Virgil will ultimately rule 147. Man. That's what's up, man. I mean, Virgil, man, he's no pushover, man. He 18-0, 18 knockouts. Like I said, I'll continue to say it. I'm not upset at all with the idea that Virgil's the next guy, but I think he needs to go up against Danny. That's who I pick. Danny and Ortiz is the next fight that needs to be made, because Danny isn't a guy that you can just say, oh, he might get knocked out. Danny's got a hell of a chin. Okay, let's not get it twisted. Danny Garcia's got a hell of a chin. And he's kind of like an old school throwback fighter. He's got that nasty left hook. He doesn't have the power like he did at 140. And Virgil also is very, very tough. So, I just think it's a great fight to make. And if Ortiz can knock out Garcia, right, that's huge. That's huge, because Garcia is not a fighter where you can even surmise that he might get knocked out. So if you stop Garcia, damn, You know what I mean? Like, you can outbox him and be like, okay, he outboxed him, but Danny's been outboxed before. But if you stop him, then people are like, oh, 19-0, 19 knockouts, stop Danny Garcia. Let's give this man credit, and he can be a champion by his 20th fight, basically. But I think he's got to get past Danny first. That's just my opinion. Don't throw him in there against Spence or Crawford right now. Give it some time. Let him fight somebody like Danny. But I wouldn't mind seeing Ennis and Ortiz either. Let those two guys fight too. Somebody's O has got to go in that fight. Ennis being 27-0, Virgil Ortiz 18-0, and Ennis he can crack too. He's got 25 KOs in 27 fights, so that'll be fun. So that's how I can see it. Imagine that if you guys out there picking Ortiz beats Ennis, beats Garcia, he'll be 20-0 with potentially 20 knockouts. Then you got to put him in there. You got to put him in there with like a Sean Porter or a Crawford Spence. I mean, that's when I'll be like, okay, I'll buy into it now. I'll definitely buy into it. Right now, I'm not 100% sold. He's got to beat somebody of quality before I'm ready to ride with Ortiz. But I do like him. I think Bud should go back to 140 and drop the WBO because I don't want him to get hurt against Errol. It'll hurt his ego. Damn. Hey, Deshaun, man. The Bud fans they're not liking these comments right now, bro. But you might be able to get away with it right now, man. You might be able to get away with it. So if anybody's curious about who I think is going to be at the top, again, speaking positivity into the universe, man, and Spence fully recovers, is confident, it's not psychologically affected. I got Spence personally. I think Spence is the guy. I have to remain consistent. I have to remain honest in that. I believe that he's got the skill set, southpaw, long, got the reach advantage probably against anybody in the welterweight division. If I'm not mistaken, he probably at 5'9.5" with a 72, I believe, inch reach. And just the hand speed, the body work, the viciousness that he has, the ability to go toe to toe, the ability to fight from the outside. I just love his skill set, man, and that's just how I feel about it. And I feel like Crawford will be the biggest test. And if you put up Spence and Ugas, I think Spence will edge it out. Spence will beat Porter. Spence will beat Thurman. Spence will beat Garcia. So really, I see Spence and Crawford. Like, Crawford is the biggest threat to Spence, absolutely. Yeah, Bud's got a 74-inch reach. Oh, okay, let's check that. Let's check that. Because I'm on Crawford's page right now. I got the tail of the tape. Crawford's 5'8" was 74-inch. Yeah, you're right. Crawford's 5'8", 74-inch. All right, cool. Let's check Spence right quick. So remember that 5'8", 74. Might have it on Spence, man. He might have the reach, actually. He might have the reach. All right, Spence is 5'9.5" and a 72-inch reach. Yeah, so Crawford, man, he got 2 inches on the reach. He got 2 inches, man. I was wrong. Interesting. He's a little bit taller. He's an 1.5 inches taller. But Crawford got those long ass arms, man. That's true. Now that I start thinking about it, Crawford does have those long ass arms. And when you have those long arms like that, man, you generate a lot of torque in your punches. A lot of people don't understand that. See, the thing is, a lot of fighters, right, especially at the lower weight classes, because typically welterweights average reach is like 68 to 70, right? That's like the average reach. Um, but when you get a welterweight that's 72, 73, 74-inch reach, there's guys that are fighting at the super middleweight division that have that type of reach, right? And so then you get guys like we watched last night, Robert Guerrero, right? Robert Guerrero is kind of a tall guy, got a long reach, but he doesn't have much power behind his shots. He's always been a volume puncher, even in his prime. But the thing you guys have to understand about the anatomy of long arms, if you can figure out how to use those long arms and use it as leverage and torque, you're going to be devastating, man. Because, like I just pointed out, if you have a 74-inch reach and you're going against a guy that has a 69-inch reach, and you know how to generate those long arms properly, because some fighters, they got long arms, but they're just flailing. They flail, They don't actually sit down and use those long arms as torque. That's a big. I mean, the longer your bones are, right, the more torque you can generate behind your punches. And so, when you've got a reach that's potentially the same size as somebody that's 6 foot and a super middleweight, or even a lightweight or light heavyweight, sorry, that's huge. So that people have to understand that. And that's why Crawford can crack, man. Long ass arms, probably one of the longest reach in the welterweight division at 74 inches. That's a long ass reach, man. That's a long ass reach. I'm personally, I'm like 175, and I think I'm about 74 as well. So think about that. And I'm 2 inches taller than Crawford, and I'm potentially 20 pounds heavier. So very interesting. Felix, what's good, man? Good to see you in the chat. What up, Divine? I missed yesterday's live. Eating crow now. Ugas pulled it off. Yes, sir, he did. Shout out to Ugas. Shout out to Cuba. Do you think Spence should fight in a more defensive style to take less damage on the eye? Spence does have a little bit of a shoulder roll when he defends. It's his left eye, right? So he's southpaw. Yeah, he's gonna have to keep that glove up tight, and you may see that in his next fight. He's gonna keep it real tight using the shoulder roll. He's got pretty decent defense. He's not the best defensive fighter. He does get hit because at times he decides to go toe to toe. Like when he fought Porter, he was getting hit because I feel like he was trying to prove a point. But then there's times where he decides to not go toe to toe and uses his range and stays to the outside. But you're probably going to see that, though. You're probably going to see him keeping that left glove up nice and tight, protecting that left eye, and probably utilizing a bit of a shoulder roll more, especially if he fights a guy like Crawford who can switch stances, who's got a long reach, as we just discovered, even longer than Spence. And not only has reach, but also can punch in volume. So he's got to have his defense tight when he fights a guy like Crawford. Jim Diamond, what's good, man? Good to see you in the chat. As always, Jim Diamond, shout out. Crawford and Ugas has to happen next. Crawford, in my opinion, is the new king of the welters, in my opinion. Very solid opinion. Don't have any problem with it. So Felix and Deshaun, you guys can meet up here and have a beer together and talk about how Crawford is going to beat Spence. I favor Spence a little bit. Granted, he comes back from the eye injury, no psychological effects and all that. I have Spence personally. But am I upset if Bud wins? No, because Bud is a monster. I think the biggest criticism that Bud gets is, one, he hasn't fought in a year. Two, there's a lot of people out there that think that he had opportunities to fight certain people and didn't. And so has he really been tested is the question. Has Crawford been truly tested? That's the question people ask. And obviously having the success that he had at the lower weight classes, when he was at lightweight, he was a beast. And when he was at light welterweight, he was a beast. So at welterweight, who has he beat? So he's beat Jose Benavidez. He beat Amir Khan. Amir Khan's never been a welterweight. Let's be honest. At best, he's a light welterweight at best. And he beat Kell Brook. Kell Brook was on his way out, and then he beat that one dude. I can never pronounce his name. Eddie Judas. I never can say his damn name right, but you guys know who I'm talking about. He beat Jeff Horn. I mean, so that's the problem. I mean, his resume looks decent at light welterweight. Beat Hank Lundy, beat John Molina, beat Felix Diaz, and Dongo. So he's pretty decent at light welterweight, but the problem is at welterweight. Yeah, he beat Gamboa and Ricky Burns and Ray Beltran at lightweight. See, that's the thing. And so people have to understand that Errol Spence is a bona fide welterweight. Okay, Crawford is moving up in weight to challenge an arguably bigger Errol Spence. Like, let's be honest here. Errol is bigger. Walking around, he's probably 160. Walking around weight is probably around 160. He gets into training camp and he squeezes into 147. And I think Crawford could fight at 147, but he's just not naturally as big as someone like Spence. And that's the point that Thurman has always put out. And I agree with Thurman. Thurman has always said, like, look, you're moving up in weight. It's not the same. Like, you can, like, if you beat Amir Khan, for example, yes, it was at welterweight, but Amir Khan he's never been a big guy. We saw what happened when he fought Canelo, and we saw what happened when he fought Crawford. So that's Thurman's whole point, is that you're moving up in weight, but you're not fighting true welterweights. But if you fight Spence, that will be a true welterweight, a guy who walks around 155 to 160, right? And so he's a big guy, 5'9.5". I would bet my bottom dollar he's around 160 walking around before he starts the training camp, Errol Spence. At 5'9.5", yeah, for sure. Crawford, I don't know, because he used to fight at lightweight. That's 135, right? So he probably maybe 150 walking around. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I think Earl's just a naturally bigger guy. And that's one thing that does stand out to me, is that when you go up and you fight a guy who's been at welterweight for a very long time, who has fought welterweights himself, right? Errol Spence has fought bona fide welterweights himself, a.k.a. Sean Porter. So you're going up against a guy who's used to fighting guys that are his size or bigger, who brings in punching power as a true welterweight. So, I mean, let's look at it. He does have, he has a win over Mikey. Mikey's not a true welterweight. Sean Porter is, though. Lamont Peterson is, in my opinion. Chris Algieri is, in my opinion. Chris Van Heerden is, in my opinion, who's also a fellow southpaw, FYI. Danny He was better at light welterweight, so he's borderline. I mean, he's fought at welterweight for a while, longer than Crawford has, right? Danny has fought at welterweight. I think he has more fights at welterweight than Crawford does. So Danny's fought Errol, Ivan Reddick, Adrian Granados, Sean Porter, Brandon Rios, Keith Thurman, Samuel Vargas, Robert Guerrero, Paulie Malignaggi, Lamont Peterson, Rod Salka. These are all, starting with Robert Guerrero, those are all welterweight, right? So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Danny Garcia has 8 fights at welterweight. So you guys see what I'm getting at here. You guys see what I'm getting at. So very, very interesting things to think about. Dennis says, I totally forgot about Ennis. Yeah, don't forget about Ennis, man. Don't forget about Ennis. He's a beast. He's something to look out for. I wouldn't mind seeing Ennis and Ortiz, to be honest with you. Your boy Mikey Garcia is looking to take a tune-up fight. That's possible, Hawker. Possible. Black Superman, what's good, man? An official member of the channel. Always good to see you. As always, thank you for the support. I think Danny Garcia is between 140 and 147, but he has done really well at welterweight. Yeah, I mean, I just pointed out that that he's had 8 fights at welterweight. Okay, he's had 8 fights at welterweight. Crawford, on the other hand, let's count it up. Let's count it. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's had 5, but of those 5 was Jeff Horn. Is he really a welterweight? Amir Khan, is he really a welterweight? Kell Brook, is he really a welterweight? So those are the things that you have to consider. And going up against Errol Spence, as I said, is a bona fide welterweight. You have to take those into consideration. Dr. Hook said, I've been rocking with Ugas since the Porter fight. I thought he would beat Manny if the bicep wasn't injured. Well, respect to you. Well, I for one certainly wasn't buying into all that. His bicep was injured, this, that, or whatever, man. I don't believe, unless it's announced that, from the commission, from the physicians, from the promoters, the dude's got a bicep injury. I just don't get into hearsay and what smaller media outlets put out there, man, because I just been around too long. No disrespect to anybody who reported it. They're doing their job. They're trying to get information out there, but I just been around too long, man, and I've seen this 1,000 times. Always his traps look too big. He's walking funny. He's not bending his elbow properly. Oh, he looks weight drained, or you just hear all kinds of crazy shit over the years that I just said, I don't care. If they make weight, and if I don't hear anything from the promoters, the commission, the physicians, the people that are actually putting this fight together, that are in charge of yes, the fight is on, no, the fight is off, that's it. Like, I don't get involved, man. So once I get trapped into that, then I feel like I'm speaking that negativity into existence. And, I believe in karma, man. And the next thing I know, Ugas is going to go in there and his arm's going to be all jacked up. And then, I'm going to feel bad. So I just don't operate that way. So I never bought into it. I came on here a couple hours before the fight, and I said, look, because everybody kept putting in the comments, oh, Ugas is hurt. Ugas is hurt. I want to pick Ugas, but he's hurt. I said, nope, he ain't hurt. He's fine. I'm speaking into an existence. He's fine. And what did he do? What did he do? He went in there and displayed brilliance. Displayed brilliance. Big Dog says, plain and simple, Father Time caught up to Pacquiao? Well, I would say partially. Partially, yes. 42 years old, doesn't have the foot speed like he used to have, but mainly he can't maintain a high volume of punches, which is what he's known for. Like when he goes up against fighters that have really good boxing ability, he overwhelms them with volume. You go back, rewind the tape to Miguel Cotto, for example. Miguel Cotto was doing very well in the early parts of that fight. He was jabbing Pacquiao, he was moving, he was looking good, and then Pacquiao just started exploding on him, landing 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. And that's difficult to deal with, man. You can't train or prepare for that. And he wasn't able to do that. He hasn't been able to do that for a while. He couldn't do it against Mayweather either. And that's what everybody was banking on. Like, oh, Pacquiao's too fast, he's too quick, he's going to overwhelm Mayweather. Mayweather's going to get in the Philly shell, and he's just going to beat him up. And he couldn't get off, But, I mean, he was able to do it against Broner, I guess. But the thing about Broner is he's just not as sharp as Mayweather. Mayweather's, he hits you with the right hand, he's going to hit you. He throws the right hand, it's basically like an 80% certainty that he's going to land it. And not to mention the check left hook, roll out, maintaining the distance. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, Pacquiao hasn't displayed the fury that he once had at 140, especially, where he was just overwhelming his opponents with volume. And it was abundantly clear that there were spurts, right? He would jump all over Ugas, Ugas would defend, and Pacquiao would just drop back out. And as soon as you drop back out against a counterpuncher, what does that mean? Counterpuncher's gonna land the jab, is gonna walk you down, and the looping right hand was a big problem for Pacquiao, man. Big problem. He couldn't defend it. He couldn't get out of the way of it. He blocked it a few times. It's like he knew it was coming, but he couldn't do enough to either counter it or get away from it. And that does signal that, Father Time is approaching. But you got to give Ugas credit. At the end of the day, you got to give Ugas credit. I don't want to sit up here, or I'm not going to allow people to come up here and be like, the only reason why he lost was because he's 42. It was all these people that said Pacquiao's going to knock out Ugas. Ugas doesn't stand a chance. Ugas is a replacement fighter. Pacquiao was training and preparing for Spence. And people were saying he was going to knock out Spence. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear, he's old. Nobody was talking this old shit, because I went to Fight Hype. I went to Fight Hub. I went to these other channels and watched the training videos of Manny Pacquiao. He's smashing the heavy bag and hitting the mitts. And I go through the comments, and everybody's saying, oh, Pacquiao looks amazing. He's 42, but he looks 24. He's old, but he looks phenomenal. He's gonna stop Spence. The Spence fight was canceled, and then it was Ugas. And then they were like, they were upset that the Spence fight wasn't gonna happen. But at the same time, they're like, oh, Ugas is in big trouble. Like, before we thought, it'd be kind of a close fight, but Pacquiao would win. But now we definitely know that Pacquiao is going to win. And Ugas said, you got the wrong one. You picked the wrong one. And I give Pacquiao full credit for salvaging the August 21st date, because he could have easily said, I wanted Spence. The Spence fight don't happen, so therefore I'm out. Like, I'm not interested anymore. I'm going to wait for Spence to recover, and then we'll find a new date. But he said, nah, you know what? The date is set. I've been training, so bring on Ugas. So I give him credit for that. You know what I mean? I give him credit for that. But at the same time, let's not sit up here and mince words and pretend as if, if it was 5 years earlier and all this bullshit. Nah. They both had equal time to prepare. They both were told about the fight on short notice. Okay. Ugas came prepared. Ugas had a game plan. He executed that game plan, and he beat Manny Pacquiao convincingly. End of story. And like I said, man, nobody was singing the songs of, oh, I don't know if Pacquiao is still young enough. Nobody was singing that. Nobody was singing that. Everyone was like, oh, Pacquiao, he's looking amazing. He's looking amazing. He's looking amazing. And then he loses. Oh, you know what, man? Shit. He's just too old, man. He's 42. Like, what do you expect, man? He's all-time great, da da da. Come on, man. Like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, yeah, like he's 42. I get that. That was definitely a factor. But Ugas came in with an amazing game plan and executed it. Give him credit and shout out to Cuba, man, because Cuban fighters have been blackballed for how long now, right? Erisland Lora, Rigondeaux, even Ugas couldn't get the decision over Sean Porter. So he literally put Cuba on his back last night. And so, yeah, that's just the way I think about it. And no disrespect to anybody, I'm not coming in here attacking people who say, oh, it's just father time. Yeah, I just don't want to discredit Ugas, man. At the end of the day, like I can't, because especially someone like me who I pick Pacquiao to win. And I'm not somebody who goes out of the way to pick somebody like Pacquiao. Pacquiao's never been a favorite fighter of mine. So I had to sit up here all night last night after the fight and eat crow. And which, by the way, we had over 1,000 people in the live chat last night. 1,000 people. And when it was all said and done, we had 20,000 total views. 20,000 views in 24 hours going live after the fight. And I have to credit all of the subscribers and all the people who have shown the love and support and the hard work into coming in here, making sure that you smash the like button, leaving your comments, becoming official members, leaving super chats. Because without you, I would have never came on live. I would have watched the fight, made a Twitter post, and passed the hell out. But it's because of you guys. I go live, and we ended up getting, as a matter of fact, 1,300 at its peak of people joining the live stream. And when it was all said and done, 20,000 views. So respect to the supporters, because without you guys, none of that would have been possible. And we did have a handful of people to come in the chat and say, oh, the only reason why Pacquiao lost is because it's too old. And I can't tolerate that. I can't tolerate that. I don't accept that. Yes, it was a factor. But as I said, nobody was singing that song. Nobody was singing the song of Pacquiao being too old. He might be too old. Nobody was singing that song. Nobody was singing that shit. I saw the comments on Fight Hub. I saw the comments on Fight Hype. I saw the comments on all the other little channels posting Pacquiao hitting the mitts in the heavy bag. He's 42, but he's looking like 25. He's looking like 25. Oh, my God. And not only were they saying they were going to beat Ugas, they had Pacquiao knocking out Spence. I got a video up on my channel where I said, Spence will outpoint Pacquiao. And I swear to you, I had at least 30 dislikes on that shit. 30. Now, granted, I got a lot of support. I had like 70 likes, 80 likes, but I had 30 dislikes when I simply said Spence is going to outpoint Pacquiao. I didn't even say Spence is going to knock out Pacquiao. And people are like, you crazy. Pacquiao's the greatest thing ever. You know, he's 42, but he's going to show the world that age is just a number. And he's got it coming. And Spence ain't shit. This, and this, and this, and that. That's what they were singing. That's the song they were singing. Then Ugas comes in, and they're like, ah, man, Spence is a ducker. This and that. They talking shit about Spence for about 2 or 3 days. And then they change tune, and they say, oh, well, Ugas is basically just a replacement fighter. It is what it is. He'll smash Ugas, and then we'll get Spence later. That's what they were saying. So I don't want to hear none of this. Oh, man, he's 42, and he's old, and I had so much faith in him, and I'm just so sad that he tried his best. He tried his best. He's 42. I don't want to hear none of that shit. I don't want to hear none of it. Stay true to your convictions. Y'all had him knocking out Spence and knocking out Ugas. I've seen the comments. I know. You can't run, you can't hide, man. Big Dog Willie says, I'm not discrediting Ugas, but Pacquiao athleticism and his strength, and at 42, I knew he was going to lose. Oh, but here's the thing, Big Dog. If you pick Ugas going into the fight, respect. Respect. Because you have that right now, Big Dog. You have that right. You came out and said, Ugas is going to win this fight. I don't know what you guys talking about. Pacquiao, 42. He ain't going to be able to sustain the boxing pedigree of Ugas. So if you pick Ugas to start with, you have all of the right to come up on here and talk shit about Pacquiao's age, because that's what you started off with. That's what you led with. So respect to you for picking Ugas. Myself, on the other hand, I thought Ugas was I thought Pacquiao was going to edge it out. And I spent over 12 hours yesterday eating crow. And so if I'm going to come on here and eat crow and say, damn, I was wrong, Divine Sense Boxing, who's been around for over a decade, I don't get fights wrong very often. And so if I'm going to come up here and eat crow, then I don't want to hear none of this shit about, oh, the only reason why he lost was because he was old. No, I underestimated Ugas. I said it was going to be a close fight, but Pacquiao was probably going to get the nod because it's going to be a pro-Manny Pacquiao fan base. And with the judges blackballing Cuban fighters recently, I thought Pacquiao was going to get the nod. But that's the thing. Ugas did such an amazing job that, like Drew Titan said, they ran out of tricks. The WBA ran out of tricks to try and screw over the Cuban fighter once again, because Ugas dominated so brilliantly, and one judge had it 115, 113. One judge had it 115, 113. Then you got dumbasses out there like Dan Raphael said he gave it to Pacquiao. You got dumbasses out there like Skip Bayless that said he gave it to Pacquiao. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. A guy who's been talking about boxing for over the better part of a decade, and I got to eat crow. Skip Bayless, you better eat crow too. Talking all that shit. So I can't make this stuff up, man. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I picked Pacquiao. I thought it was going to be a close fight, and Pacquiao's going to get the nod because you get these incompetent judges trying to screw over the Cuban fighter, and they're pro Manny Pacquiao. The crowd is pro Manny Pacquiao. They don't want to give a close decision to the Cuban fighter. But that's the thing. As I said, Ugas came out here and dominated the fight. Dominated. He dominated so much that the best that they can do to try to seem like it was close is one judge had it 115, 113. 115, 113. I had it 117, 111. That's right. Divine Sense Boxing had it 117, 111. That's 9-3. And 2 of those rounds, I was being extremely generous. Snoozer, why are you continually bashing Pac fans in a mocking voice? Boxing fans make excuses, all of them. Look at you and Wilder. I'm not mocking Pacquiao fans. I'm telling you what Pacquiao fans were saying. This is what Pacquiao fans were saying. They said Pac was going to knock out Spence. They said that Pacquiao was going to knock out Ugas. And then Pacquiao, those same Pacquiao fans came to my channel talking about the only reason why he lost was because he was old. That's what they were saying, Snoozer. I'm not making this shit up. They came to my channel saying Pacquiao lost because he was old, giving no credit to Ugas, the same guy that they said that he was going to knock out. So excuse me for mocking. But I don't tolerate inconsistency. I've been consistent to your point here about Wilder and me. I've been consistent with Wilder since day one. And I've never said that Fury didn't Fury didn't win the second fight. Yeah, Fury won the second fight. But unlike Fury Wilder 2, where there are a plentiful amount of allegations and conspiracies with video and photo evidence, there ain't no conspiracy in Ugas and Pacquiao. That shit is clear as day. Domination. And the best thing you could come up with, not you personally, perhaps, but a lot of Pacquiao fans is, oh, he lost because he's old. Excuse me for mocking, but I feel like I have the right. You come to my channel, disliking my videos, telling me that I don't know shit about boxing, telling me that I'm crazy, and that Pacquiao's going to knock out Spence and Ugas, and then when he gets his ass dominated, you're going to come back here and say, oh, he just lost because he's old. Excuse me for mocking. Sorry, but not sorry. Skip Bayless is full of shit, man. I'm tired of him. Seriously, don't get me started, man, because every time, man, Skip Bayless is always against anything that I've ever supported. Woo. The anger runs deep with Skip Bayless, man. Let me tell you. He's always picked against my Phoenix Suns. He's always picked against my Arizona Cardinals. He's always picked against Floyd Mayweather. He's always found a way to piss me off. Stormy P, put some teriyaki sauce on them wings, bro. I probably, man, because it's getting too spicy. My wings are too spicy. Ugas body shots took Pac's legs away. Ugas did the damn thing. Body shots, straight right hand, looping right hands, jab. What's all this crazy ass Chinese shit in here? I need my wrenches to take care of that, man. Clean that up. I don't know what's going on with that. Stormy Man B, the best part of waking up is Ugas turning up is in my disgruntled Larry Merchant voice. Hey, on that note, Stormy, did you hear Larry Merchant? They brought Larry Merchant in for the pre-fight. You saw that? They brought Larry Merchant back to talk about Pacquiao. I bring that up, Stormy, because remember, you and I were backstage after we did Eye of the Storm, and we were talking about Larry Merchant. Really? Remember that? And literally a few hours later, they bring Larry Merchant back on to speak about Manny Pacquiao's greatness. So that's a little special message for you, Stormy, because you touched on that backstage with me before the fight. Snoozer says, I was here. Most gave Ugas props. It was a small minority. And I'm not saying it was you per se, Snoozer, who didn't give Ugas props. I'm just saying that, I don't think it was a small minority. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you why it wasn't a small minority, Snoozer. We had over 1,000 people live right after the fight. Over 1,000. And at the time, at its peak of 1,000 people, I had like 70 likes. That's why. You know why? Because I wasn't up here saying, oh, Pacquiao was old. Pacquiao's a legend. The only reason why I lost because he's old. Because if I would have singing that tune, I probably would have had 500 likes. That's fact. Now, okay, yeah, they didn't come into the comment section. They don't dare to comment in the comment section because I have my supporters in here speaking that truth. There are other Filipinos in here or Pacquiao fans in here, like yourself, that was giving Ugas credit. So they don't dare to come in here to talk anything, right? But they're lurking in the shadows, disliking my video or not doing anything because it's not what they want to hear and they click out of the video. So that's why I say what I say. Michael Watson said, Divine did it with dignity. They better eat that crow now. They got to. That snoozer should keep snoozing. He obviously ain't woke up, says that's in his name. Yeah, Snoozer came by. Snoozer's one of the guys that came by yesterday in the live after the fight, who I believe is a Pacquiao fan. But, to his credit, he did give Ugas credit. But at the same time, I think he's a little bit upset because, maybe I speak a little bit negatively of Pacquiao. I don't think I'm speaking negatively of Pacquiao. I don't know how many times I have to repeat myself by saying that Pacquiao is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. I've enjoyed watching him in his career. I've gave him plenty of accolades. He is a great representative of the Philippines. I give him all the credit in the world. He's got a beautiful family. He's done amazing things in the sport. I don't know much what else you want me to say about him. But when it comes to his fans, and you have to understand, Snoozer, that I've been dealing with Pacquiao fans for a better part of like 12 plus years, okay? And my patience is very low. Very low. And we did get some Pacquiao fans that came in here and said, hey, shout out to Ugas. He did great. I still love Pacquiao. He's a legend, this and that. I didn't have any problem with those people. I didn't have any problem. I said, I highlight their comments. I said, yeah, respect. But I'm pointing it out here because people are coming in here and all around YouTube saying, oh, Pacquiao lost because he was old. That is not the same as you pointed out, me and Wilder, okay? Because that's not the same excuse. An excuse is the man got outpointed, dominated, but he lost it because he's old, okay? That's not any close comparison to Wilder Fury winning the second fight, and then immediately afterwards, allegations, conspiracies, photos, videos, all this different stuff coming to fruition which then makes boxing fans, not even Wilder fans, but boxing fans in general, because I always consider myself being a boxing fan before anything else, to then question, well, what's really going on here? You know what I'm saying? There is no conspiracy or allegations in the loss to Ugas. Pacquiao lost convincingly, period, point blank. So that's what I want to make crystal clear. When I come on here and I speak about Wilder and Fury's situation, it's because as a boxing fan, I notice things that don't seem right, and I make comments about it. I do observation, and people can decide for themselves, especially about the second fight. I don't even get into the first fight that often because it is what it is. It was a draw. But the second fight, I take it very seriously, because if the allegations are indeed accurate and true, then that means that Fury put Wilder's life in danger. And Snoozer and anybody else in here that is a Pacquiao fan, you would feel the same. If tomorrow there's conspiracy and allegations coming forth that Ugas tried to load his gloves or wasn't wearing his gloves properly, or there was a conspiracy that Manny Pacquiao's water was spiked, or all these other different types of allegations, you would be up in arms too, Snoozer. Let's be honest. So that's the difference. I want to make that clear. Yes, Devon, since I also had the fight 9-3, that's obvious. 9-3, I think, is very, very fair. There are people out here, I think Big Dog had it 9-1. He had it 11-1. So that's a bit steep. But, I mean, if you had 8-4, I'm fine with that. But anything more than that, like 7-5, nah, ain't no way. Larry Merchant, somewhere there's butterfly floating in the wind. I wonder if butterflies cry for boxing. True. Deanna, what's good? An official member of the channel. Want to give you a special shout out. Thank God it wasn't Spence. That would have been crying. And I was saying it after the live stream yesterday after the fight, or during the live stream rather, after the fight, that it is a blessing in disguise, man, that it wasn't Spence. Based off of what I saw last night, Spence would have stopped Pacquiao in 6 rounds. Maybe 7. It wouldn't have been pretty. And I mean that with the most outmost respect for Manny Pacquiao. Honest to God. It wouldn't have been pretty, man. It wouldn't have been pretty. I'm telling you. And I don't want to hear none of this, Pacquiao was preparing for Spence and he had a better game plan lined up for Spence. And, he had to take Ugas on the fly and didn't have much time to prepare. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, Pacquiao fans, but Pacquiao had the same amount of time to prepare for Ugas as Ugas had time to prepare for him. There's no advantage there. And quite frankly, a lot of benefits shifted Pacquiao's way fighting Ugas, because you no longer have to worry about a southpaw who you haven't fought in 19 fights. You no longer have to worry about even a taller fighter, because Spence is taller than Ugas and more of a reach. As a matter of fact, I believe 3 inches more. Who is much more of a puncher than Ugas, because his record speaks for itself, and rips into the body much more than Ugas does. And Ugas actually went to the body very well. But imagine what Spence would have done. He would have stopped him before 7 rounds. You can't convince me otherwise. Razor says Skip Bayless picked against Wilder as well. See, that's what Skip is a complete moron. I would have other choice words for him, but YouTube has a way when I get really heated and start using very expletives and things like that they like to mess with my channel, so I try to be nice. I ate crow many of times in my life. I told everyone that would listen, Pacquiao by unanimous decision. If I would have got a hold of my bookie, I would have laid money accordingly. Well, blessing in disguise for you, Dave. His ass sticks out, and I can't believe nobody's kicked Bayless in yet. Like, seriously. How does Shannon Sharp deal with Skip Bayless, man? Like, I understand, man, it's a business and you got a job to do, and I don't know if they're really friends. They act like they're friends, but I have a hard time believing that they're actually real friends in life, because Skip Bayless be on some real dumb shizzes. Real dumb shizzes is. Trying to control my language here, which is a challenge for me. I'm ex-Navy. Curse like a sailor. That's a real thing. Yeah, I saw that. That's why I said it, because he disgruntled AF now. Hey, for real. I can't believe that you pointed that out, man. And then literally a couple hours later, who do we see pop up on the screen? Larry Merchant. Deanna, what's good? You said, did y'all see that highlight reel from PBC? Yet unbelievable. I can't even believe they used that as a highlight reel. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, Deanna. Which one are you talking about? What highlight reel? Pool counter says Larry Merchant is going to come back in full strength. It's over for black fighters. It's over. Man, that's something that I don't want to hear right now, Pool. When Floyd told Mary Merchant off was a monumental moment. Laugh out loud. I still enjoyed that today. Yeah, me and Stormy were talking about that. We were talking about that time when Floyd told him off, because that's a long time coming. And one thing that Stormy and I were talking about is, like, how has nobody else sitting ringside alongside this man not just uppercutted his ass? Throw a check left hook at him. And it took so many years, to the point where Mayweather himself just couldn't take it anymore. And you saw Larry Merchant's reaction. He got super defensive. And you know the old saying, if people get defensive, they got something to hide. They got something to hide. He got super defensive, to the point where he said, if I was 50 years younger, I would kick your ass. Y'all remember that, right? And to Stormy B's point, how was he not fired literally like the next day after making that statement? How is that acceptable? How is that acceptable professionalism? It's just crazy when you think about these type of things, man. It's crazy. I'll say it. He needs to retire. Enough already. His fans think we've had to kiss his butt. Nah, respect. He's a legend, but it's enough. I think he needs to retire too, man. He needs to sail off into the sunset, enjoy his days with his family. He's got a beautiful family, and keep his health, and follow his dreams and ambitions in politics if that's what he decides to do. Maybe come back as a coach, be a corner man, be a commentator. I don't know, man, but I just feel like 42 years old, you get outpointed, and it's not like you knocked Ugas down a couple of times but still lost the fight to show a little bit of signs of life. You got beat, man. You got beat soundly. So don't do it. Don't try to push to fight some young lion and get seriously damaged, because we've seen that, right? We saw Ali go through that. One fight that sticks out in my head, man, is when he fought Larry Holmes. And it's just not fun to see, man. It's not fun to see. You've had an amazing career, and just go be with your family. Snoozer says, I've commented on your Wilder Fury video. You might not be too happy, but don't block me. Laugh out loud. We can talk it out. I saw it pop up. I haven't read it yet, snoozer, but yeah, I mean, I'll go and check it out and see what you said in entirety. I don't typically block people unless they're, being blatantly disrespectful, racist, or displaying bigotry, or just obviously having no knowledge of the sport of boxing. I typically have low patience for that because at the end of the day, I conduct a boxing channel. We can have a different opinion. That's fine because that's all in the good faith of conversation and debate. So, I'll go and check it out and see what you said, but I don't typically block people unless you do things as I just mentioned. So you should be all right as long as you weren't disrespectful. Divine, I have to admit that I tuned in to that racist channel for entertainment. They rescored the fight and said Manny won 8-4 or 7-5. They are enraged. Uh, who sent me that? Somebody sent me Larry. What's not Larry Merchant? Dan Raphael's Twitter. Who sent me that? Oh, it was one of my Patreons. Shout out to my Patreon, man. Platt Boy, man. Platt Boy was at the club, man, celebrating, I think, his mom or his wife's birthday or something. So he wasn't able to watch the fight live. So he was hitting me up, because if you're a Patreon or an official member of the channel, everyone has access to my Telegram, and Telegram is, basically like WhatsApp. And so he started texting me. He's like, "Oh, Divine, man, I can't watch the fight. What's going on?" And so I was giving him my scorecard, man, along the way, which he appreciated and all that good stuff. But he then sent me a screenshot of Dan Raphael's Twitter. And I was like, really, Dan Raphael? Really? You had Manny Pacquiao winning 8-4, 7-5. Like, really? This is a guy that's supposed to know boxing? By the way, completely agree Spence would have stopped Pacquiao. Well, I'm glad we agree on that, bro. I'm glad we agree. Facts, a blessing in disguise. Spence would have really hurt Pacquiao, like, for real. For real. That's the first thing that came into my head, man. First 4 rounds, I scored it for Ugas, right? 1-4. And if you guys remember, the 4th round was when there was a reaction by Pacquiao as if he got hit below the belt, which I don't think it was. I think it was right on the belt line. And then it kind of messed with Ugas a little bit. He was a little bit hesitant because, you can tell he was very apologetic. And he was trying to say, like, I hit him on the belt. So going into the 5th round, Pacquiao had a little bit of an edge, and perhaps Pacquiao was a little bit upset, and he was a little bit more aggressive. So I gave Pacquiao that 5th round. But 1-4, I was thinking, man, what if this was Spence right now? Like, getting hit with the jabs like that, and he couldn't figure out a way to, like, set his feet and come into the inside and land in those flurries. The defense being solid like the way it was, the looping right hand would obviously be a straight left down the pipe as a southpaw, and more power behind it. More power. That's what I was thinking. Joe Blow, I don't even want to see the Spence versus Bud because he's injured, never going to be the same fighter, and excuses will be made because of the eye thing. Well, hopefully, man, he has a full recovery physically and also psychologically. He's not affected. I'm hoping for that. Because Spence is a hell of a fighter, man. It'll be a shame if going forward he's never the same because of what he suffered with the eye injury, man. But again, I don't speak those type of things in existence, man. That's not how I operate. It's all positivity here. Spence is going to be fine, and Spence will remain a champion. That's what I'm speaking into existence. He who greets with fire. What's up, man? Thanks for stopping by, man. I'm not sure if you're subscribed to the channel. If you're not, consider subscribing and stay a part of the conversation. If you are subscribed, well, it's good to see you, man, and thanks for dropping by. Deanna says, Pac versus Ugas PBC highlight reel. Shake my head, horrible. You would wonder how Ugas won if you didn't see the fight. Wow, really? Yeah, I haven't seen it. Possibly because, well, it wasn't a close fight. So, there's really no need to watch a highlight reel. I would play it right now, but PBC does have a history of, trying to give me copyright strikes. I've already went through that with the whole film study, Wilder Fury film study, 2 hours and 50 minutes of that. I already been through a battle with PBC. They try to give me a copyright strike, so I won't play it. But according to Deanna here, go check it out, man. I don't know if I will, though, because it'll probably piss me off. I've already nearly thrown this microphone out of the window a few times already. I like this mic, and I would like to not throw it out the window. He who agrees with fire says Pacquiao versus Tank in the Philippines. I'd say I paid $100 to see it. Really? I mean, if Pacquiao does decide to continue a fight, continue to fight a few more times, he'll have a better chance, I believe, if he fights a smaller guy, like a guy that used to be 140 like himself, that perhaps fought at 147. Maybe they can do a catch weight of 145. Obviously, he won't have a problem making 145, 144. I mean, he weighed in at 146 on fight night. He probably look a little bit better. But Ugas was bigger, stronger, longer, taller, and had fantastic boxing skill, man. So I believe if he does decide to come back, he should probably fight somebody that's a bit smaller, that came from the lower weight classes like himself. So that's an interesting point. Sugar Ray losing to Terry Norris was sad. That's another one. Exactly. That's another one. I don't want to see it, man. I don't want to see Pacquiao get hurt. I really don't. Oh, I think I know what channel you're talking about. Dun Dumb Dome Boxing. Is he still around, man? Is he still around? Man. Stormy says, oh, look, Ugas just landed 14 more jabs on Pacquiao's face. Hey, Stormy, the jabs were beautiful by Ugas, man. Beautiful jabs, man. I love a jab. Man. Man. Pacquiao had to be at his very best to even compete at welter. He was just too small, and the age, just the final straw, in my opinion, has to retire. Yeah, like I said, man, if he comes back, he might as well fight somebody that came from the lower weight classes like himself. Felix says that highlight reel was atrocious. Well, at this point, I'm glad you guys are giving me the heads up. I'll probably not watch it now because, like I said, the microphone is the closest thing to me, and that's usually what gets thrown, So, thanks for the heads up. Fair use, Divine. You have fair use laws. I tell them, man. I tell them. The problem is, Deanna, is that I'll probably get away with it. It's the day or two after, and they threat copyright, and I gotta go email and go back and forth, and But you're tempting me, Deanna. You're tempting me to play that shit. You guys will witness violence live when the mic goes out the window. I like Pac-Man, but sometimes his delusional fans make it so hard. I've been dealing with them, man, for a long time. So that's the point that I wanted to make to people when people say like, "Oh no, man, it was the minority of people that were coming and disliking disliking your video and trying to make excuses for Pacquiao, well, maybe in the comment section, yeah. But like I said, we had over 1,000 people in the live chat. 1,000. No joke. And we had like 80 likes. So that just means, man, that you're not saying things that people want to hear. And that's just what it is. But yeah, I mean, I was shocked, and like I said, man, all the credit to the supporters and subscribers, man. If it wasn't for you, there would have been no opportunity or no chance uh to get that type of viewership live. So big thanks and big shout out to all you guys, man. But right now, currently, it's sitting at 21,000 views, that live stream. And I'm very thankful and very humble for it. So you guys see that, man. Yeah, Pacquiao versus Ugas immediate post fight thoughts right here, 21,000. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people, obviously Pacquiao fans that were, stopping by YouTube right after the fight, and they're probably stopping by channels throughout the night to see what people were saying. And obviously, you come to Divine Sense Boxing, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it real. I just put in Pacquiao, but it's spelled out Paquito. Little Pac. Little Pac. All right, man. So let's see here, man. Oh, man, Deanna, man, you're doing it to me. You're doing it to me, Deanna. All right, where are these highlights? Uh I don't see the highlights from PBC. Let me put PBC up here. I don't see it. I see all access. Yeah, I don't see it, guys. I don't see the highlight video from PBC. This is their channel right here. Uh, Pre-show message from Caleb Plant. Post-fight press conference. Am I missing something? Let me know, man. I'm not seeing the highlight video from PBC here. They out there hiding the video. I mean, this is their channel right here. I was about to play it. I was about to take the risk. But it's not on here, man. Maybe they were getting a lot of hate. Maybe. So I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to that, man. But it's no longer there, man. I don't see it. But let's just do this then. Let's just do this. Let's see. Oh shit. We'll just do that then. So, just looking at the highlights here, I'll probably close it out with this. Obviously, the main topic was going to be about the welterweight division, but this fight is still it's still fresh in people's minds. People still talking about it. I don't mind talking about it. I like to continue to further the point that Ugas boxed beautifully. I mean, Ugas kept going to the body, man, and Pacquiao, he didn't like that. He did not like that at all. That size right there, Pacquiao falling down like that, that size. Ugas was just big, man. He running into something a lot bigger than him. Look at that jab, man. Look at that jab. Look at that. And that's the thing is Ugas's jab or his reach as a whole really bothered Pacquiao, man. And look at that, like 4 or 5 different shots to the body in a row by Ugas. But that's what I mean. Like you see the range bothering Pacquiao. Imagine what Spence would have done. And he has even more of a reach than what Ugas does. I am glad too, man. I was worried that the referee was going to take a point from Ugas, man. I was worried about that shit. And I was about to get pissed too if that would have happened. Uh Dr. Hook. Well, I'm taking a risk. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. And the thing is, Ugas wasn't doing anything like out of this world, like defensively. He popped in and out of range and had a high guard. It wasn't like he was shoulder rolling and being slick. Just just a solid defense, man, protecting his body, high guard, and the punches just weren't affected by Pacquiao, man. And once again, that's that size. Oh man, counter left jab. And there are instances in this fight where I feel like Pacquiao normally I would expect him to. It's like there's moments where I'm like, okay, Pacquiao's about to get off here in a second. And he just didn't really pull the trigger. Let me rewind that back, man, because that was that 4th round I was talking about. Now you guys check. Is this a low blow? That's right on the belt. That's right on the belt. Let me see if I can stop it right on the money here. Right there. It's a little bit below the belt there. Little bit. It looks like a right uppercut to the body. It's definitely not below the belt, but it's like on the bottom line there. It's close, I guess. But definitely not intentional. Let me blow that up a little bit for you guys. So yeah, that's where Pacquiao, took a step back and complained about it. And then the 5th round after this, Pacquiao actually won that round. And I think because I think Ugas was scared that he was going to get a point taken away from him. Psycho Boxing fan, what's good, man? Always good to see you, bro. Ugas won the fight with his jab, never let Pac get rhythm, and never backpedal, jab, jab, jab. Same way Voris for and beat Mosley. Yeah, man. Shout out to Vernon Forrest, the late Vernon Forrest, man. Someone who left us way too early. Phenomenal boxer in Vernon Forrest. Divine, would you still like to see Errol fight Pacquiao just to see what he would do compared to Ugas? It will be interesting to see. Not really, man. Not really. Not based off of what I saw Saturday night. To be completely honest with you, I just if Pacquiao would have showed me a little bit more, if he would have wobbled Ugas or knocked him down at least once or had a couple rounds back to back where he won convincingly, then I'll be like, okay, maybe, styles make fights, but it's just not the case. It's not the case, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I scored it 9 rounds to 3. That's a big discrepancy for me, in my opinion. I just don't want to see it. I'm sorry. It wouldn't be a shock to see Pac follow Floyd's footsteps. It would keep his toes in boxing now, and then let's face it, exhibition bouts are getting good numbers. That's possible. I mean, shit, Pac and Mayweather might do an exhibition. They might do a real fight. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. It's not like, see, that's the thing. Like, it's not like Mayweather will knock out Pacquiao. It's Floyd might outbox Pacquiao again, but it's not necessarily a dangerous fight. You know what I mean? It's not like going up against someone like Spence, who's young and hungry and can seriously hurt Pacquiao. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he goes in there against Floyd or a former world champion or does exhibitions with, whoever, maybe does one with Marquez again. I don't know. But, or actually he should probably stay away from Marquez, man. Yeah, that's bad karma. But you guys get my point. Like, don't take the risk of endangering your health. That's my point. At 42 years old, it becomes a health issue. It becomes a serious health issue. Yeah, I was really worried that he was going to get his point taken away. I was about to get lit. But yeah, man. Jinky knew it, man. Jinky knew it. I think that tells you all you need to know. Just by looking at that right there, Jinky knew that it wasn't looking good for her husband. I think for her, she's just like, oh, I hope he doesn't get hurt. I hope he's able to do the 12 rounds. I don't think she really cares that much about winning or losing. Obviously, she cares about her husband's health. But yeah, I mean, she knew it. See, that's the thing. Like, you get it. You land a shot like this, like Ugas landing right here, by a guy like Errol Spence. And that's the thing. Like, Ugas has what, like 12 knockouts? I mean, he's not a big puncher, but he's just landing that clean. And you can see a little bit of the age, I think. Look at let me just try to catch it on the spot here. Look at where Pacquiao's hand is, right? He's a little bit slow in execution. And Ugas is already starting to land his punch here, the straight right hand. And you can tell that Pacquiao sees the shot opening. He sees that Ugas is getting ready to throw the right, and he cocks back his left hand. But I guess, and this is a case, okay, where age does play a factor, where your reflexes are just not the same. Ugas is just quicker and sharper, and he's taken a big hit, and Ugas does well by keeping his shoulder up nice and high, and that left hand by Pacquiao is ineffective, And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's Spence landing a shot like that, it could be a knockdown or possibly a knockout. So you have to see and understand those type of things, as I'm breaking it down right there. I'll play it back one more time and blow it up for you guys a little bit more. Just realize that I had the screen a bit low. But you'll see here, like, so Pacquiao has the vision, right? He sees the right hand coming. He's got that left hand cocked back. So his brain is basically sending the message like, oh, there's an opening there. That's the experience that Pacquiao has, right? He has the muscle memory. He knows what he needs to do. He knows the punch that he needs to throw, but he just doesn't have the reflexes anymore. And Ugas just is quicker, sharper, and lands it. And like I said, like, If that's a punch coming from Spence, man, that's a knockdown in my opinion. Notice Pacquiao's right hand is down too. You know, his right hand was down the whole time. You know, see, look at where his right hand is as Ugas is throwing this punch or landing this punch rather. Imagine if Ugas follows up with the left hook. You know, if he jumps in with the left hook right here, Pacquiao has been hit with a pretty hard shot. He wouldn't see it coming. You know, reflexes indicate that he probably closed his eyes by taking a big shot, or at the very least, he's probably looking down at the canvas. If Ugas jumps in with a big left hook right here, you know, he let him off the hook. Ugas let him off the hook on that. So, yeah, interesting thing to see here when you're breaking down the fight. And he has these little flurries, man, but I'm not sure if another nice jab. And you can see the look on Pacquiao's face. He's just like, God damn it, man. He keeps hitting me with the jab. Like you can see the frustration. You know, look at his face. You know, he's just like, man. And so I don't know if he just couldn't move his feet, couldn't get out of the way like he used to, or I just think it's a combination of everything. I mean, Ugas is a really good fighter, man. And he was timing Pacquiao very well. Another jab. Body head. Yeah, looping right hands were a big problem. Oh, man. Big right hand to the body. Yeah, I just man, if this was Spence, it would have been ugly, man. I think I really do. Especially if Pacquiao can't move his legs to get out of the way, man. That's just how I feel about it. But anyways, man, you guys can go watch the highlights and see for yourself. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to watch, man. To be honest with you, it's a little bit tough to watch. It just seems like Pacquiao's feet were caught in quicksand. He looked frustrated. He couldn't throw the combinations that we're used to him throwing. And a lot of people were leaning it and referring back to the Thurman fight. And a lot has changed, man, since the Thurman fight. Like Thurman fight, he still had legs. He was still jumping and moving and punching and gave Thurman problems. But it just seems like a lot has changed even from that fight. You know, it's crazy, man, how when you start getting up there, man, in your late 30s, early 40s, the years add up very, very quickly compared to, you know, in your 20s, from going from 23 to 24 to 25. You don't age that much. But when you start hitting those late 30s, man, early 40s, you know, he fought Keith when he was 40. He fought Keith when he was 40. And 2 years is a lot when you get up at that age. It's a lot. You know, this is not somebody who's, you know, 28 to 30 or 26 to 28. This is 40 to 42. And every year that goes by once you hit 40 is like basically equals to 3 years. So, yeah, man, that's what it is, man. I appreciate everybody stopping by today. Hopefully, I don't have issues with playing a little bit of the highlights there. But Yeah, man. Thanks for dropping by. Let me just double check the poll real quick before I end this to see where it's at. Spence is still sitting at top with 50% of who's the next king of the welterweight division. 50% for Spence, 23% for Crawford, 16% for Ugas, and then 11% voted for other. Other, I would imagine, would be Ortiz or Ennis or Thurman or Garcia, or I don't know, anyone other than Spence, Crawford, Ugas. So, uh, yeah, that's where it's at. And Snoozer says to end it, he says, when it comes to 147s, none of us will be truly happy till we see Bud and Errol. Here's to hoping. That's a fight that I obviously would love to see as well, and hopefully it happens. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to for me is seeing an undisputed champion at 147. So thanks so much, everyone, for stopping by, man. It's been great. I know it's getting late for you guys out there. Get some sleep, get some rest. It was a long 48 hours for me as well. For me, it's obviously already morning, so I had to get like a good 8-9 hours of sleep. It took a lot out of me going live. Probably a total of 6 hours in the amount of 2 days. So it took a lot out of me, and I know you guys have been up watching people's videos and going to work and doing all the things that you do. So get some rest, recharge the batteries, and I'll be back on here again. We got some more fights to talk about, man. We got Caleb Plant and Canelo that was just signed, sealed, and delivered. The welterweight division continues to unfold. I may or may not be here live talking about Woodley and Paul. But in the meantime, I got some more stuff on deck with Fury and Wilder once again. And that won't stop until October 9th. You can guarantee that. So, everyone out there, man, be safe, be positive. I'll be back on here very soon. Make sure you click that notification bell. If you don't click that notification bell, you won't be notified anytime I go live. It makes a big difference. Click that notification bell, and you guys stay up, be strong, and I'll be back. Peace.